Well, this afternoon, we are catching up with one of the industry heavyweights, close to 5 decades in the hospitality market. It's a pleasure to welcome to the show this afternoon the CEO of Rotana Hotels, Philip Barnes. Philip, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm delighted to be here. Delighted to have the opportunity to chat.
It's always lovely to hear your news. Now, you have got a busy day, busy week here at FHS. 2 big signings taking place today. Talk me through them. Big news.
2 big signings. You're absolutely right. At the end of the afternoon today, we will be signing a very, very big property in Mecca, which we already have a presence in Mecca, but this will add even more, another 600 keys hotel will be in a soft opening process in November. So very fast moving on that one. That's number one. Number 2 is we will be signing the Cove Rotana, which has been a franchise property for the last few years, to a managed property. So we will be taking over the management of it. We have new owners up there who will be injecting a large amount of capital into it, so to renovate it. And it's a stunning property, but it needs that injection of cash. And that will also be, by the end of the year, we'll be in there, and that process will then begin at that point.
Incredible. I mean, Cove Rotana is certainly one of, I think, a favourite homegrown heroes here in the UAE. What are some of the changes we can expect to see? How will that change the customer experience when it opens after the renovations?
Well, that's a fully loaded question, because we're going to go through a full design review to make sure that we understand what needs to be done. But essentially, we have a lot of villas there that need to come into the inventory. Most of them, many of them, I should say, need a good solid renovation to bring them up to current day expectations. The majority of the rooms are in great shape, but it'll be more about restaurants, it'll be more about facilities, it'll be more about that experience that we create at the Cove to really elevate it and take it up several notches. To your point, it's a very well-known hotel as a Rotana, but it's sort of, in our opinion, it needs repositioning and reinventing, as indeed many things do.
Oh, don't we all these days? I've stayed there for a long weekend with friends back in the day, had a wonderful time. Tell me, I want to pick up on what you were saying about more of a focus on F&B and cuisine. Are we going to see some of the same names there? Could we expect to see any big international names? We are a big foodie audience here in the UAE.
We are doing, most of the food and beverage in Rotana was homegrown in the past. We have been moving away from that. We're opening a new property in Mangrove, Ras Al Khaimah, next year, probably in the springtime, late spring. And in there, in the event that it's all coming together, there will be a third-party operator bringing in a very exciting food and beverage concept into the hotel. So we're looking at third parties to do these things, right? Where it makes sense, right? As you know, in some of our hotels, we have well-established brands like Benihana, for example, which are favorites and have been for years and years. We don't own that brand, but we certainly make it happen. So I think what matters in food and beverages, to your point, is that we continue to focus on things that are energetic, that are fun, that meet today's expectations, right, for lack of a better description. So it's energizing, but everything about a hotel today is about creating a destination, and that for me is always the issue. A hotel needs to be a part of the community, and to be a part of the community, it needs to appeal to the community. So it's not just appealing to the guests, it's appealing to the broader market.
And I think you raised an important point there, because I think today's traveller is better educated, better travelled, and has higher expectations. It's much more than just a hotel night stay. Now they want the full experience. But let me ask you a little bit about your plans for Saudi Arabia. I think a lot of interest in Saudi's market at the moment. Obviously, the World Expo coming, World Cup as well. But you're focusing more, I think you were saying you're opening in Mecca. So tell me, is that going to be primarily for religious tourism, business tourism, or a bit of leisure as well?
Mecca is predominantly religious tourism, all right? I mean, Mecca you can't go to unless you're a Muslim, and therefore, I will never see the property, unfortunately. But the reality of it is Saudi is putting itself on the world stage. So you have to look at it very differently today. And I've used this example on several occasions, even actually today. Back in the day when I first started going to Saudi, which was 2007 or so, the process of getting a visa, going through immigration, etc., it was challenging, to say the least. Now, it's so easy. Online visas, you're welcomed on arrival. The whole experience is different from what people had anticipated. And I think what Saudi is doing is educating the world in very different ways. And what people don't realize, they don't necessarily realize it about the UAE either. But let me just talk about hospitality in this part of the world. Hospitality in this part of the world is homegrown. So when I'm in Saudi, for example, I'm treated like a member of the family, as indeed I am here by the Emiratis who live in Abu Dhabi, for example. And that warmth and welcome is not found in other parts of the world to the extent it is here. So as it opens up, as they create these new destinations, then you have the history, you have the culture, you have the geography. And I was just talking to the chairman, our chairman, earlier on today, and there's a part of the country that I haven't seen. He said it's like Lebanon, only 6 times the size, right? And that's the thing. Saudi has so much to offer. And I was at ILTM in Cannes last year in December, and I was talking to one of the top travel people out of New York who deals with luxury travel. I've known him for years, and I said, Jack, where are you focused these days? And he pointed to the Red Sea stand. He said, that's where we are going in the future. So Saudi is coming onto the world stage. The UAE has sort of somewhat opened the door for it, but now Saudi is coming to complement the UAE. And I think the whole region is going to really benefit from all this. Plus, if I may just add, when you come here, you're safe, you've got rule of law, you've got hygiene, you've got cleanliness. You can walk the streets of Dubai or Riyadh at 1 o'clock in the morning and you are perfectly safe. You go into a restaurant, it's clean, it's hygienic, everything works. So this to me is where we put the 2 destinations just come to the forefront in a very big way. And the UAE is already there. Let's face it, the UAE is extremely busy. Occupancies in both Abu Dhabi and Dubai are running in the 80s. So business is great in the UAE.
Absolutely, and I think you're right about Saudi and what they're doing. I was speaking with John Pagano earlier this week, and Red Sea is just absolutely incredible, some of the projects that's going on there. But let's look a little bit further abroad, because, of course, Rotana, very much homegrown story as well. What are you doing to be able to continue to compete and, I guess, differentiate yourself from big brands like Accor, Marriott International, and really let that local hospitality thrive?
Wow, that's a very big question. I'm going to try and cut it to some very simple responses. We joined the Global Hotel Alliance earlier this year. We will launch Rotana Discovery on December the 1st. That already puts us on the world stage in ways that we weren't. So we're now talking to 34 million people in the United States, in Canada, in Asia, in Europe, that we weren't talking to before because we were a homegrown brand. But for me, the key issue is when you talk about all these big brands, and I say to you, they are in the business of hotels, which they are. They are all about development and being in as many places as they can. Rotana is not. We are in the hotel business. So for us, success is not dictated by fee streams coming from a multiple different number of sources. Success to us is the success of each hotel. And that is based off an Emirati culture that was driven by our chairman 30 years ago, and to me is even more important today than it was when he started. We have just gone through, we just did a program down at Saadiyat Island for about 130 of our team to really help them understand the Emirati culture and what was mattered about hospitality. Eddie, my chief operating officer, and his team are looking at what we do operationally, from scents to sounds to smells, everything in terms of that Emirati culture, to make sure that you know when you're in a Rotana hotel that you know you're here in the Emirates. I travel all over the world, I'm sure you do. I wake up sometimes in the morning, I have no idea where I am, because there's nothing in the room to tie me back to the destination. And I think that is a critically important piece for travelers today. They want to know that they want the experience of going somewhere where they can, which is new and it's different. And this is why I think Saudi has such a huge opportunity, because it hasn't been on the world stage. Now it's coming on there, I think it's going to take off. That's it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's about creating those moments that matter, don't they? Now, Let me ask a little bit personally about you. As I said earlier, you're one of the industry greats. You had, 24 years at Fairmont, had a decade at the Savoy in London. You're coming up to 2 years with Rotana as well. What are the biggest changes that you've tried to bring to Rotana over the last couple of years? And tell me, were those changes or suggestions, were they welcomed at first? Because it's tough when I guess an outsider comes in and shakes things up a little bit.
Look, as I always say, you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. And if you come to the table with a fresh perspective and a different perspective, and you think that everybody's going to embrace you, you're wrong. It's not going to happen. But what you have to do is help people to understand why you're bringing the changes. And in that regard, I'd have to say that the team in general embraced those changes. But there were various things that I did need to do that were critical to our future success. One was to appoint a CIO. Technology is changing the world that we live in. I was lucky enough to have somebody on the team who's a real talent when it comes to technology and forward-looking in his viewpoint. So moving Dominic into that role was a no-brainer. The next thing I needed to do was to actually recruit a chief commercial officer, which was not a position that existed in Rotana previously. But commercial now, everything interconnects. So marketing interconnects with sales, revenue, loyalty, etc. So I needed an overarching individual who was going to look at all of those components to pull them all together to make sure that we were getting the best results that we could for every single thing that we did. And I brought Nada on board. She started on January the 4th, and she's been with us now for less than a year, and she is moving the dial. Has it been easy for everybody to embrace everything that she's brought to the table? No, it has not. But the majority of people get it. And the majority of people go, oh, okay, this is different and it's going to be challenging, but I'm going to learn and grow. And what I do is I get out into the field as much as I can, and I talk to the hotels as much as I can. And I talk to the teams, not just the general managers. And I say, what are your questions? What do you want to know about? And as they've got to know me, they're now much more forthright about saying, well, can you help us understand why you did that or where you're going here, right? And it's keeping people informed. We have a corporate meeting every 2 weeks in the corporate office. The minutes to that meeting, which is everything under the sun, go out to all 80 hotels. So every general manager understands what's going on. That was a game changer for them because it was corporate office is doing, what are they doing? Right? Now they know exactly what corporate office is doing and they share it with their teams. So when I go into a hotel, they ask me questions about things they've heard about from their general manager relating to what's happening in corporate. It's all about what I call transparency and alignment. And it sounds easy, but it's very difficult to do because if anything, you have to over-communicate. Right? You never communicate enough, right? So meeting people, communicating this way, doing videos, right? There are so many ways. And keeping the team, as my entire team in the corporate office, communicating, technology being a big piece of that. What we're doing, where we're going, why is it taking so long? Why does it take so long? We launched a new website at the end of August. Which was a game changer for us. I needed to make sure that people understood what needed to go onto that. So we have a young lady called Reem who's in our marketing department with Mohammed and Thomas. And Reem literally went through 70 hotels, helping them put their content together because it wasn't something they were familiar with. They wanted to do the best job possible, but they needed somebody there to help them through it. So it's been all those types of things that have gone forward. As I say, there's been an awful lot happen, and sometimes I kind of go, we've got so much more to do, right? And then Eddie will always say to me, yeah, and we've achieved so much, and I go, great. And then in the next breath he says, but we've got so much more to do. So we're all aligned, and that's what matters.
I love that. And I have to say, I completely agree with you about the communication, particularly in your business, the business of people. And that really has to come down from every level, from management and beyond, doesn't it?
The fact that point that you just made about being in the business of people, this is the biggest challenge. I need to be able to, you don't manage any business from the top down. You manage it from the top down and you manage it from the bottom up. If everybody understands what you're doing and why you're doing it, then they get on board. What happens in organizations when you get that pushback is when people don't understand why. And this was something I learned years and years ago when I was having pushback from servers in a restaurant. And I went and sat down with them. I said, what is the problem? And they were, well, we don't like the standard. We think it's stupid. And I sat through, well, do you understand why? Well, no. We just thought you were making life more difficult. And then you go, okay. And then you explain, and they're like, oh, okay, I get it, right? So it is, over-communication is far better than limited communication. Which is why I love it when our chairman gets out and talks to everybody, because everybody loves him, and he's so passionate about what we do.
Oh, well, obviously something that comes down to you as well. But Philip, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed our chat. Look, congratulations, 2-year anniversary coming up in March. Looking for so many more years of it.
I'm looking forward to it too. Here's for having more fun.